Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the lecture number 5 on the root locus. And in our last previous 4 lectures, we started with the rules to sketch the root locus. Today, we again continue with the rules to sketch the root locus. I think we might have reached the 8th number of the rule, and that rule is the calculation of gain k at any point on the root locus. So this rule tells you about that you can find the value of gain k at any point on the root locus. It means that, for example, suppose that the root locus is already sketched and you want to find the value of gain k at any point on the root locus. So for example, let's say this is the root locus, this is the root locus, this is my S-plane. Then you can select any random point on the root locus. So let's say I am selecting this point. So this is something like any point S1 on the root locus. So I can calculate what is the value of gain k at this point. So you need to calculate, because the root locus, the closed loop poles are moving as the gain k increases. So every point on the root locus has a different values of k. So if I wish to find the value of gain k at any point on the root locus, let's say S1, I can use this rule. Now why this rule is required? Because you have so many points on the root locus which are very important. For example, the breakaway points, they are also very important. For example, if the root locus crossing the imaginary axis, so at that point of time, what is the value of gain k? Or anything else, at any point, any random point on the S-plane. So that's why you need to mention the value of gain k also. I know the value of gain k at least on 2 points on the root locus. So let's say, for example, the starting point of the root locus, that is at open loop poles, the value of gain k is 0. At infinite, the value of gain k is infinite. At open loop zeros, where the root locus terminates, there also the gain k is infinity. So I know the value of gain k at the starting point of the root locus and at the terminating point of the root locus, but I don't know the value of gain k at the breakaway points or the value of gain k on the imaginary axis where the root locus is crossing the imaginary axis. So let's understand this rule in detail. So we start with our characteristic equation, that is 1 plus g of s h of s is equal to 0. This is characteristic equation. It implies that g of s h of s is equal to minus 1. And g of s h of s is equal to 1 if I take the magnitude on both the sides. Now what is this? G of s h of s. It is open loop transfer function. So g of s, h of s is equal to 1, the magnitude of that. So g of s, h of s is the open loop transfer function. So any open loop transfer function, generally, open loop transfer function can be written by the gain k, the zeros upon poles, like this. On the numerator side, if you solve the numerator polynomial, you will get the zeros. If you solve the denominator polynomial, you will get the poles. So these are open loop zeros and open loop poles of this transfer functions. Now, so these zeros are written like this. So I will write in the next slide. So remember this, that g of s, h of s can be written in general like k into some zeros upon poles. The factors of zeros and factors of poles. So g of s, h of s is written by gain k. Then I can say the not union, but I can say I write I. Let's say I is equal to 1 to m, and this is s minus zi upon I can write I is equal to 1 to n s minus pi. So any open loop transfer function g of s, h of s is a combination of the steady state gain k and s minus z1 into s minus z2 into s minus z3 up to s minus zm, because there are m number of zeros. So what are zeros here? z1, z2, z3 up to zm. So zeros are z1, z2 up to zm. Here on the denominator side, you will get the poles. So there are n number of poles. So s minus p1, s minus p2, s minus p3 up to s minus pn. Remember that m, this n is always greater than equal to m for a proper transfer function. So what are poles here? Poles are p1, p2, go up to pn. There are n number of poles. So if you, but remember that z1 to zm or p1 to pn can be real or can be complex. It doesn't make any difference. So now this is a general open loop transfer functions from where from the numerator you can get the zeros, from the denominator you can get the poles. Now this magnitude of g of s, h of s was equal to be 1 for a characteristic equation. So this should be equal to 1. Now I will drop this portion. So magnitude of g of s, h of s, which is nothing but the magnitude of this, is equal to 1 to satisfy the characteristic equation that we have discussed in our the last slide. So now I am interested in getting the value of k. So this term is equal to 1. So it means that k, or the magnitude of k, into s minus z1 magnitude into s minus z2 magnitude goes up to s minus zm magnitude divided by s minus p1 magnitude, s minus p2 magnitude goes up to s minus pn magnitude, which is supposed to be equal to 1. So this is, if I expand this series, multiplicative series, then it would look like this. Now it implies that the value of gain k, or the magnitude of k is always positive, is equal to this into this divided by this. So s minus p1, s minus p2 up to s minus pn divided by s minus z1, s minus z2 goes up to s minus zm. So this is how you can get the values of k. Now suppose I want to find, so this is the general equation. So I am writing this general equation on the top. So k is this equation. Now I want to find the value of k at s is equal to s1, and this s1 is any point on the root locus. It can be a breakaway point, it can be a break-in point, or it can be a point S where it can be a j omega point on the imaginary axis, anything. So since that point satisfies the characteristic equation because it lies on the root locus, so that point S1 is also satisfying this equation. It means that to find the value of k at any point S1, I need to replace S is equal to S1 here. So k at S is equal to S1 is given by S1 minus P1. Not that this is the magnitude, okay? S minus P1. This is S minus P2, S minus Pn divided by S minus Z1, S1 here. S1 minus Z1, S1 minus Z2 up to S1 minus Zn. So it means that I am calculating the magnitude at S is equal to S1. So if I replace S is equal to S1, then this is the value of gain k at S1 point. So this is the general equation for any point S which lies on the root locus. So now, how to calculate this? S minus P1, S1 minus P1. So I know the value of P1. I know S1. S1 is something like A plus iota B or something like that. And I can get the magnitude. So this is a complex term in the form of A plus iota B. Alright, let's clear up this. So remember this, that any gain k at any point S1 on the root locus can be calculated like this. Now to get what is S1 minus P1, this is the magnitude of this complex number. Complex number is in the form of A plus iota B. So the magnitude would be under root of A square. So the magnitude is A square plus B square under root. So this is the magnitude. Similarly, you can find this, multiply them, divide by the multiplicative terms of these terms. So let's say S minus P1, S1 minus P1, if I want to get this. Let's say S1 was any point, let's say 3 plus 2j, any complex point. It can be a real point also. And my P1 was, let's say, a pole at minus 3. So how will you calculate this? S1, that is 3 plus 2j minus P1. This also can be a complex. Minus 3 and the magnitude of this. So 3 minus 3 is 0 plus 2j magnitude of this, which is nothing but under root of 0 square plus 2 square. This is under root of 4, which is nothing but the magnitude. So this is known as 2. This is how you can calculate the magnitude of individual terms. So we have discussed the value of gain k at any point on the root locus. This actually we are close to the finishing actually we have completed all the rules to sketch the root locus. So let me summarize. Note summary. First, root locus is symmetrical. about real axis. Next, root locus starts from pole at k is equal to 0, with k is equal to 0, terminates either at zeros with k is equal to infinity, or at infinity with k is equal to infinity. Third, root locus on real axis, that sum of the all real poles and zeros to the right hand side of that point should be odd. Real poles plus real zeros to right hand side of that point should be odd. Then the angle of asymptotes, that is 2q plus 1 into 180 upon n minus m, where q goes from 0, 1, 2 up to n minus m minus 1. 5. Centroid, which is minus sigma a, sum of real parts of poles minus sum of real parts of zeros divided by n minus m. Then the breakaway points you can calculate via dk by taking dk by ds equals to 0. Then the angle of arrival, angle of departure from complex pole, that is nothing but 2q plus minus 2q plus 1 into 180 plus phi, where phi is the net angle contribution to that open loop pole from all other open loop poles and zeros. Then angle of arrival, here 2q plus minus 2q plus 1 into 180 minus phi. Then 8, that is k at any point on root locus that we have seen. That is magnitude of poles upon magnitude of zeros, right? At s is equal to s1. So this is the summary of the what we have discussed in last 3 to 4 lectures. Now once you understand all these rules, now you are capable of sketching any root locus. So how to start for sketching the root locus? So the procedure is very simple. Procedure or steps to sketch the root locus. First is you must have g of s, h of s. This is required, and this is open loop transfer function. Then you compute open loop poles and open loop zeros. So I should able to compute open loop poles and zeros from the transfer functions. So if you can able to compute open loop poles, then you will know the value of n, that is the number of open loop poles. You should know the number of n, that is the number of open loop zeros in the transfer functions. Once this is computed, third one is map these poles and zeros, open loop poles and zeros inside S plane. So S plane is nothing but a normal plane with the real axis and the imaginary axis on a normal graph paper. Be cautious while taking the scale of the graph paper. Very important. So based on the size of the magnitude of the open loop poles and zeros, because you need to map this, so you take appropriate scale. Then you based on the number of n and m, if n and m are equal, you don't need to calculate angle of asymptotes, because there is no branch of the root locus which are going to terminate at infinity. So there is no question of asymptotes and there is no question of centroid then. If n is equal to m, n is greater than m, then you need to find the angle of asymptotes. Similarly, step 5, calculate the centroid also. Then once you calculate the angle of asymptotes and centroid, once centroid is calculated, mark the centroid on graph paper. And from there, draw the angle of asymptotes. And the point number 6 is, you have a real axis and mark the line segment which lies on the root locus. Mark line segment on real axis which lies on the root locus. So this 1 to 6 steps are very easy. 4, 5, 4A, this is 4B, this is 5, 6. Okay. So once you do this, then you should start thinking of the nature of the root locus, or the you can say, is there any breakaway point or not, something like that. So once you mark the line segment, then you identify the portion of the real axis which is the part of the root locus. Then give arrow to root locus starting. So if there is a pole, then you give arrow outward. If there is a 0, you give arrow like this. So from every open loop pole, the root locus will start. So give a arrow outward directions. For every open loop zeros, there is actually for every open loop zeros, the root locus is terminating. So the 0 is capable of receiving the root locus branch. So give inward arrow. Once you know this, then calculate breakaway points, if any. So it may happen that there is no breakaway point. So this you can identify from the real axis, the portion of the real axis which is the part of the root locus. Okay. So find the breakaway points. Then if there is a complex pole and complex 0, find the angle of departure and angle of arrival. Once this is done, you need to find the value of gain K at breakaway point, then imaginary axis, if the root locus is crossing the imaginary axis. How you will calculate whether the root locus is crossing the imaginary axis or not? Via putting the we have forget one rule, that is root locus crossing imaginary axis. So via Routh-Hurwitz you can find that point also. So this is where the K is needed. So with this, the rules for sketching the root locus is over. We'll meet to the next lecture with one example, and we'll finish one example completely, and then I think you will be able to sketch the root locus at your own. Thank you.